Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Mandalorian reviews. I am Mandalorian Season 3 review, specifically. I am Rock Bottom, Travis Snail. I'm joined by...
There's no soul and no excitement in that voice. Oh my goodness. I am the great Scott Taylor Field.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not, as you can hear, where you'll begin this review a little earlier and whatnot. It's not because it's a midnight review. This is, I don't know what the definition of a banger episode is, as far as, or sorry, not the definition, what the reverse of that is, but that's definitely this for me. I wish Kirklin was here, because I feel like, but I probably know he'd probably be, I think, kind of down the middle, but maybe he would be. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to get into it. Everything you need to know is down below. We don't need to do links and stuff because midnight, we're doing a special midnight episode because, Mushroom Kingdom, here we fucking come. Get me to the Mushroom Kingdom. Get me far away out of this galaxy and whatnot. But no, I'm just having some fun. We'll have a conversation here. But yeah, everything you need to know is down below. How to find us, video, links, audio, where to support us on Patreon. We really appreciate it if you do that. You get episodes ad-free, early, and exclusive. There'll be an Evil Dead retro up there. That's going to be in the next 24 hours, going up there early. There's 2 Patreon exclusive episodes we did this weekend, so over 2 hours of content there. Sure, there'll be an After 9 at some point in April, so lots of good stuff to look out for. Let's get into this. Taylor, non-spoiler thoughts of Hired Guns, episode 6, I guess you said chapter 22, but episode 6 of season 3.
Yeah, so it feels good, and this is not a spoiler to know that we're finally at a point where all the trailer scenes have been done. Now we are getting into uncharted territory, and that's always my favorite part of a TV series because it just tells me, okay, they've saved these things for the next 2 episodes, but where we're at now with this episode, yes, it was filler, but I ate up every single second of it. I really liked it. I feel like there was a lot of really cool tie-ins to the expanded universe, and especially a certain part of the Star Wars universe, which we are familiar with. And I honestly was not expecting actually to get the general narrative that we got between 2 of our characters, I will say. That kind of caught me off guard. But again, seeing some returning faces too. All in all, like I really, really did enjoy it. And when you dropped in the Discord, like you're what the fuck, I was about 5 seconds behind you. So I was like, oh, okay, this will be something good. And sure enough, I was just blown away. I couldn't believe it. And then you dropped another one, like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, okay, is this like what's going on here? And yeah, sure enough, I couldn't believe like just they upped the ante. So uh Kathleen Kennedy, I'm impressed. Bold, but yeah, I'm impressed.
See, this is why, just because of 2 things that appear, this is why I fully believe you just love Rogue One because of Vader and like Solo because of Darth Maul. This man, for weeks, have been talking about how Kathleen needs to go for the strength of the Star Wars brand, but because 2
Well,
characters, I'd say,
this doesn't
appear,
save.
he
This doesn't
flips.
save her.
That's what he said in the Discord. Kathleen
I
Kennedy is
was
good in
teasing.
my books.
Oh, I was
Yes.
teasing. I was teasing. You can share it, but I was definitely
No,
teasing because
I gotta
if I
screenshot it.
if I
Boom,
could have a movie
screenshotted.
over these 2 things
Boom.
that they did,
It's
that's
too
definitely
late.
different.
Immortalized. Your screenshot. You're caught. I got the receipts. But anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 portions of me, and both of them don't like the episode. So you have there's a general thing that they do that I don't like, that everyone knows I don't like. So of course I'm not gonna like that. But to me, that's not like, I think it's a really bad thing. But it's like that's where it comes down to, I don't know, personal taste, right? It comes down to, what do you like about your Star Wars? And to me, there's certain things they did here with certain, I'll just say, characters that I do not like. I don't like. I think it falls very much in the, you remember this? Now, it's not that. It's a spin on that, but it's remember this, or this in a different way. So I'm never going to like that. And I think there was the biggest, most egregious one. And it happened to be something I don't enjoy either. So that's just me in general. So I don't like that. So that automatically takes down points. So that's separate. Because even if it was a great episode, I wouldn't like that. So that's why I say that's a separate con. Throw that away. The episode, it was kind of, it bugged me that I feel like the first 2 minutes we're getting something, and I was in. This always happens with Mando. I'm in. I'm like, okay, what are we doing right now? I know it's directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. And then I'd say the last 2 minutes or something I'm interested in, but the rest is a nothing episode. It is the low tier Clone War Saturday morning cartoons, and you can't necessarily say it's complete filler because there are things that happen. So I won't go that far. I just think it's an adventure episode that I didn't enjoy. I think and even what happened in my first critique, what they used some of these characters for, the dialogue, stuff like that, I was not a fan of it. It just felt very over the top and not. I don't know. It didn't feel like Star Wars to me, and that's all it comes down to, right? And if for you, if it doesn't bug your float your boat, that's fine. But I don't even mean just the certain characters or actors. I'd say what they did with them, and this is easily by far, and this is just the thing with Mando season 3, and I think this is why people are tuning out and ratings are low. This is a Bryce Dallas Howard episode. This was one that every year when we get Bryce Dallas Howard directing, we're like, man, this is going to be the main event. This is going to be the best one here. And like I said, what a nothing type of episode. I think this was for me the halfway point. I was worried. 5, I was very worried. 6, I've given up as far as I don't think they're going to turn this thing around. I think they're teasing some certain storylines, but even now with only 2 episodes, sure, you can leave off to season 4. But for me, this just feels like a setup season then with what I think they're going with. And maybe I'll like season 4 depending on the execution. And I don't even know that for sure. And I don't trust these writers at all. And yeah, this season has just been such a mess from start to finish. There's been some good stuff in here. I don't think it's like the worst TV ever, but I just think it is. And I think we're close. I think this is the closest we've been to Boba Fett territory as well, which is not good. Luckily, I think it's already going to be a mixed one because from what I see, the reaction is there's similar people to me. So yeah, I don't know what we're doing here. I know what we're doing, to be clear. I just mean like as far as the actual quality of writing, what we're focusing on. Yeah, no, not a good episode. Like I said, close to filler, but some things did happen. And there was, I like the last part. I think that was good. There's some intrigue with the opening, but I don't know if that really means anything now. So there were little nuggets, little percentages, but yeah, this was no, this isn't it, boss. This is, and I'm tired, boss. This, and not because midnight. It's just I'm ready for this season to be over, and yeah, we'll see. What I'll probably do is I'll give Mando this end and maybe the season 4 premiere, but then I might be kind of done with the show as far as needing to watch and review it. I think I'm to that point now because it's just I'm because that's the thing I've always had. Even go back to season 1 when I had issues with season 1. There's still a lot of stuff I like. I think with each episode I'm finding less and less stuff I like, which is not good. And of course I don't want to be that guy that's just always on them. So we'll see. I always say this at the end of every review. I go, well, I hope next week will be great. And when the start I thought was going to be great, but I'm curious to see how other people react, like the more positive season. If obviously there's certain characters that don't bug you, then I understand that. But just I wonder, because I feel like there's already been some people that talk about filler episodes, which I don't necessarily think they were filler, but I feel like this is as close as you get. Maybe it could be classified as that, but there's still a journey here to progress the plot. I just think that there's better ways to do it and what they're focusing on. And I actually wanted to say one thing before we get into non-spoilers. I want to bring up a review we got on what was it? Probably Apple Podcasts or anything like that. So don't worry about that. It's not a bad one. It's a 4 out of 5. We didn't get the full 5 stars, but I want to clarify something. I can't speak for Kirklin, but the title was great podcast. So thank you very much. And it was Haley9317. So everybody go, review on Apple Podcasts, unless it's a 1 or 2 star, then you can go away. But love the podcast. Everything I listen to, even when I agree and don't agree, and I'm gonna get to my point here in a second. Don't agree with it. I enjoy the conversation as well as the information. The only con I had was with the Mando reviewing. In season 3, episode 4 podcast, Mando, you guys were asking for more information on these characters, and then went on to say that one of you didn't even finish Clone Wars. I'm Kirklin because I've finished it. All that information you guys want in those TV shows. So for them to waste time explaining what most fans already know would be useless. Bo-Katan's story is mostly in Rebels, so if you haven't watched that, I suggest you do. I'm really enjoying Mando as it gives lore, unlike Andor, which was mostly I think you misspelled something there, so it didn't make much sense. We even had a glimpse of the Mythosaurus and huge nose for Bo-Katan. So besides the ranting Amanda, without the knowledge of the characters from previous shows, the podcast is great. Now, I can't speak for Kirkland because I don't think he ever referred to that way. And because just from, and this ties into my point of the only con was, what was it? You guys were asking for more information on these characters. When I say more info on these characters, I'm not speaking about the literal lore. I think that's where Kirkland didn't finish Clone Wars, but I recall last week when we were speaking about this, we weren't asking about literal information. And if you can find a quote, then great. But we were just talking more like, I want more time with these characters. I want to know more. And know more meaning like their psyche, what they're thinking in this moment, how they're doing, what's Din feeling about all this, what's Bo feeling about, just a couple weeks ago she thought these people were cult like and now she's with them. Like, I want more conversations. And that's the same thing today, where I wish how we got to the end point was just more focused on Din and Bo and some it doesn't have to be emotional journey, just some character journey with these two, when really it's just them going from place to meeting kooky characters and doing things. And I think that's honestly the weakest thing of this show is they've just kind of completely abandoned character stuff for fun appearances and lore and just mini like 2 minute, oh, here's the story progress. So I just feel like we're learning nothing about these characters really, other than like, spoiler, Mando's like, this is how you talk to an Ugnaught, and Bo's like, oh, and that's what she learned. That's her character progression. So that's what I mean when I mean on more characters. I've seen Rebels, I've seen Clone Wars. I'm not needing the lore, and when I want them tied in the show, I just think I want them tied in the show because that'd be good. And to the other point for Kirkland's thing, I don't think you can still throw the, hey, you need to go watch 6 hours of a show to get caught up on the character. That's still up for a show to try to tell you, like try to explain and make it feel like something. So but thank you for the review nonetheless. I just wanted to say something with that because I was like, okay, I understand maybe where you're coming from, but just to clarify, I don't think that's what we're talking about. But we'll stop now, get into spoilers after this ad break, so we'll be right back. And we're back. Let's just get this stuff out of the way. Let's get the elephant out of the room and everything like that. So they land on this planet, and they got to talk to some people, and they're going to help figure out this droid issue, which feels, very Clone Warsy, like very much stuff with the clones, or the droids felt very Clone Wars. Some of those episodes when we got like the droids versus Jar Jar and stuff like that, like this was this to a T. Mando has the brain cells of Jar Jar, so that kind of makes sense. But either way, it was cool to see the droids. It was cool to see is the battle droids? Is that what they're just called?
The B1s and B2s.
Yeah, it was cool to see them moving around. I always like seeing some of that prequel stuff in present day, like Coruscant stuff. So that idea was fine. I guess it's just, again, where it was the Bright Styles episode and the fact that we're only 2 episodes left after this, to me was like, oh, like this, I feel like this episode could have been earlier, and I want some more meat on the bone for story and character. We didn't get that. We got a few character beats, which we'll talk about, but yeah, so they land and they got to go talk to these people that are running the planet. And man, they commit, for me, it's more than swearing. Okay, the main sin is bad writing, so the show kind of already has that going on. But the biggest sin stars for me that I do not like, we went over this with Boba Fett, and if you do, that's fine. It's different strokes for different folks. It's just, for me, it loses the feeling of Star Wars. It now takes me out of the world. I don't feel like it. I don't get that feeling of him in Star Wars anymore. They land down, they go to talk to this like Matt. I don't know what their official titles were. Do you remember what their titles were?
They were just the democratic leaders of the planet.
So they're just like this husband and wife, and of course, and I knew it the second the door opened. I saw his face, and I knew who it was. And it's Jack Black, and then his wife is Lizzo. And I love Lizzo. I don't like Jack Black. Jack Black, I've said this before, I feel like most of the time he just plays the same thing over and over. I don't hate the guy. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to boycott his movies. I just don't enjoy him that much. But Jack Black is just, to me, it's worse than Danny Trejo, in my opinion, because Jack Black's this major star, and he is this guy that has very, I don't know, recognizable type of aura around him. And Lizzo, it's interesting because I love Lizzo. I love her music. I just don't think she's a great actress. So 1, it took me out. And then 2, that's not that great. Jack Black was fine. And then we got Christopher Lloyd, Christopher Lloyd, I could have given the pass. I still don't like it, but I could have given the pass. He's a ultra legend. We don't know how long he has left here. I'm not trying to be mad, morbid. I could have given the pass. I still don't like it because it takes me out. I don't like watching Star Wars, and when I see something, I go, "Oh, real world," and that's exactly what I thought with all three of these. So that took me out right away, and that's always going to be a con. So I didn't like that, and I didn't like that. Christopher Lloyd was great acting wise. I didn't like Jack Black's performance. I didn't like Lizzo's performance. Liz, I thought for acting wise, didn't like, and Jack Black's just doing his over the top shtick as usual. It's like he wasn't too bad, but just it's a caricature of somebody. So yeah, I didn't like this at all. That's to me, this is, like I said, puts it in Boba Fett territory, and I like it. It's just I like when we get the Daisy Ridleys, the Finns, and even like Pedro. That's why he's in the mask, and even like Katie Sackhoff. She's not a major person. Carl Weathers is like close enough, but even then, it's like, to me, Jack Black is a major star, and for me, Danny Trejo and Boba Fett was just so meme worthy of like, okay, it's Danny Trejo here. But I know you were on the other side and you loved it.
Yes, I'm gonna swing some positivity here, listeners. If you still, if you haven't clocked in out or clocked out, uh, so I could not believe Jack Black was in there. That was nuts. I think, timing wise with his drop in Mario, that's I guess today now at this point,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely perfect timing. They must have planned that. But that
This guy said
aside,
he was retired. The liar. He said he was retired. He's a
he's going. He's in
Mando.
everything.
He's
in
a,
everything. He's gonna be in the MCU
That's a
next.
good retirement. My God. Jeez.
So when he appeared, Lizzo, I actually like. I didn't connect the
You
dots.
didn't know it was her.
I don't even know who Lizzo is. I've
I
seen
could
her
tell
on a
from the
magazine
Discord.
cover
I'm
for
like,
sure.
you were like
but-
2 cameos. I'm like, there was more than 2 cameos there.
Yeah, so definitely, I've not listened to her music or anything like that, so I definitely didn't make that connection. But yeah, Jack Black was definitely the main one that I connected the dots with there. And he fits. He totally fits. I was thinking like, oh my God, like I keep thinking it's Jack Black, it's Jack Black. But as I was watching it and just how his mannerisms were and his charisma, I thought, man, he fits this universe so well. From the books that I've read, watched the Clone Wars and the Rebels episodes, he fits that pompous, obnoxious at times leader of this planet. Like all the good food, the drinks, and everything, and he's got all his people there catering to him all around the dinner table, having meals with it. Like it's just he fits. I could not believe it, and I would love to see that role come back to some degree, which I imagine we will, based on their offer they made to the Mandalorians. But I was so invested in that. Absolutely loved it, and I loved his sincerity too and his genuineness to extend that independency to Mandalore as well. There's so much going on that I really really liked. Now when we get to Christopher Lloyd, that was definitely the other surprise, and he gosh, he was fantastic. I love the twist of him being this Count Dooku sympathizer, and he was just selling it for me. Just not even being a separatist, but just this old way of just leading the charge like Dooku, and just reprogramming the battle droids to just stir the pot. I love that so much. That was fantastic. Oh my goodness, that was great. Totally into it. Yeah. And I so at the end of the day, like I'm glad I'm not pulled out too much from seeing these two, I guess 3 actors and actress from being prominently shown and featured in other films.
Well,
around
Lizzo
the
didn't pull you
world.
out. You didn't know who she was.
No, but I'll give her credit. She's a big name. So I just thought it was fantastic. I think getting the dive into the storyline of having the droids and showcasing not just the B1, B2 battle droids, but a whole variety of droids from Tatooine that we've seen and all over the galaxy was
I like
really,
that.
really neat.
I like that that blue that blue PO droid. What are they? What is their technical thing?
Protocol droids.
Just protocol droid. I like that blue. That was some nice. That'd be the one I'd be picking. I liked that shine. That looked very cyberpunkish. So that was some cool look right there.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it felt to me, it felt Star Warsy, and maybe that's just I feel like it's a I don't know, because like yes, you're right. There's definitely things that people are going to be able to look and enjoy when they look at this episode, and the things that they're not going to enjoy, and they're gonna pick apart. And it does come down to what you enjoy in Star Wars, and for me, this episode felt like it was a lot of world building. It was cool to see especially a droid aspect, and see Din Djarin's handle on this, because we haven't really gotten to see like his apprehensiveness, but in this he's like waving his hand, he's kicking the B2s over, and so I was getting such a kick out of that. It was great. And yeah, just to see this democratic system working on its own, adding into the overall storyline with the Mandalorians, getting to see some one-on-one combat was cool too. There was so much going on that I just really, really enjoyed. Yeah, I will easily revisit this episode. Is it one of the strongest episodes? No, I am definitely someone who prefers the combat and the Imperial stuff and the Sith stuff, all that kind of stuff all day. But this one just totally felt like one of those great classic filler episodes that I'm all for. I'm eating it up.
Yeah, and again, that's for me that I agree with you. I like the world that's there, taking out like the actors, everything. I like the world that's there. I don't mind the little clone conspiracy thing. I think for me, again, it's just the placement of we haven't gotten much story. I'm looking for it near this season's end, and again, we have another episode that to me the weakest as far as pushing the story forward. There's one big thing which we'll talk about, which I do think is a big thing. It's also very convenient. I guess it's true, but it just felt like it was kind of forgotten about. And like, we'll do this, right? Like, yeah, let's do this. But so I don't mind the world. It's just the placement of it, the timing of it, and stuff like that. I don't know. Because now next week's the penultimate, and I guarantee you it'll probably end in some big cliffhanger about who we got to fight. Which it's interesting because so Moff Gideon's not in this episode. They didn't talk about him. This is where I think John Carlo might just be he just might be a liar, because like he had said that this was the most he was ever gonna be in a season. Like he had the most screen time. So maybe episode 2 and episode 7 and 8 will do that. But I don't know. I don't think so. Or he got a lot of stuff cut, unfortunately for him. I don't know. It just feels like, because I feel like not the back half, but I feel like the last few episodes of last season he was in it quite a bit. Because I feel like he was in the penultimate, and he was definitely a lot in the finale. Like he fought with Mando, he had some conversation scenes. So I feel like we have to get Moff next week, I imagine, right?
I would think so.
If not, this guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Again, like from what I have heard, the possible rumors of how Gideon is going to be coming back, and his new return, I guess I could say. It makes sense that they'd want to save all of that and what's to come, and not keep any of that in the trailers by any means. So that being said, if it is just limited and we don't get much, because I'm trying to think, like, there's still a lot to cover. Like, they're going to obviously combine Mandalorian fleets. They're going to go to Mandalore. And I think this is when it gets interesting, because we know Mandalore is being monitored by something extremely imperial. When you look at, I think, Concord Dawn, I think, is the one where Bo-Katan's palace was on before. I can't even. One of the outlying systems or moons or planets outside of Mandalore. So they're going to go back to Mandalore to retake it. That's what the armor said. That's what Bo-Katan's saying. So they're going to do that. She's got the Darksaber. She's leading the forces. So I have a hunch, and I really hope it's true. We're going to get this whole, which it's a sizable fleet, to actually get to visually see this fleet that Bo-Katan was talking about. They pieced together. They got Gideon's light cruiser. They got multiple of these Imperial shuttles. They got a whole bunch of gauntlet fighters. Oh my God, it's just beautiful. And there's a whole bunch of Mandalorians. So we're going to get them stacked up with the covert or the Concord Mandalorians and
The convert. You said it's a covert though. It's different. So
I know.
Kirklin said it's a convert. You said it's a covert.
So we're gonna have these two groups join. And I think next episode we're gonna have them return to Mandalore, and that's when we're gonna get this big space battle. I think we're gonna see obviously these TIE interceptors. Who's pulling the plugs with that whole Imperial fleet that's obviously watching this Mandalorian system and the Mandalorian planet. I think it's going to be juicy. I think hopefully it's going to not just be Gideon. Hopefully it's going to be Thrawn in there too. Again, hashtag Thrawn's coming. Where's that juicy banner? Thrawn's still coming. There
Thrawn's
it is.
Still coming.
Thrawn's still coming.
Thrawn's still coming with Gideon. That's
with Gideon.
Happen.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Give me that big space battle.
I just wonder, so like, is part of the rumors, and maybe it's just educated guess for people out there, but is it that Gideon's coming back like as a agent of Thrawn. Is he supposed to be tied to Thrawn or something like that?
Well, that's what I'm assuming, and
Yeah.
just the way again, like Bo-Katan's palace was destroyed. That was a very Thrawn-esque approach. And I was reading into it. And that was something that Thrawn even pulled. That similar kind of a stunt in the Rebels TV series.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I feel like I wonder if he's a last episode thing or an end credit thing. An end credit thing could be cool, but I feel like it'd be better to put it in the last thing of the show, kind of like they do a Dark Saber with Moff Gideon, because then if people don't stick around, you establish that there's a bad guy and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to be doing there. I did like that we did return to the because I did not like that, and this is where again when I say I want more in these characters, I'm not saying I want more lore. I wish we spent more time with. So we got to go back, Sasha Banks. Well, sorry, I guess Mercedes Monet is her name now because she's a different wrestler. So
so Sasha was never her real name.
no, do you think her real name is Sasha Banks? You think that's a real person's name?
Well, yeah, it sounds pretty real to me.
Well,
There's
it
definitely
wasn't. Her
crazier
name
names
is
out there.
what it says Mercedes Vernando, I think, but now she wrestles under Mercedes Monet. So always good to see her. I'm happy, and I want to see more of her, and that's where part of my struggle is that. Uh, I have to go. I try not to do the whole like I wish what they would do. Like I guess I probably do that, but I try not to as a basis because I would say, hey, I'd take out all this episode and wish it was just more about Bo Din dealing with these Mandalorians and some conversations. But that's not what they got me, so I can't grade it on that. But yes, that's part of me that wishes if you ask me, hey, what would you rather happen? I like, and to give them credit, when we first started the season, Bo was just like, they just left. And I was like, really? That's it? Like, we have nothing? I like that we were seeing them. And that's why I was excited because, like, okay, I get to eat my words. I get to go back and say, you know what my complaint was in episode 2? They answered that. And they did, like, just minorly. I wanted more conversation because we get that they're up to some, hijinks and stuff like that. They're running their own crew. And then we meet them later on, and that just deteriorates to a fight between Bo and what's the main guy who was like leading them now? I can't remember.
Axe Woves.
Axe?
Axe Woves.
Axe Woves? His name's Axe Woves?
First
Who the
name
fuck's-
Axe, last name Woves.
Okay, I'll just call him Axe. Who the fuck is naming these people? Anyway, so then we get a confrontation of her and Axe Woves, and they fight, and then we get the Dark Saber thing, which we'll talk about. So I wish we got more time with that. I don't know if they're not really a clan, but just that group of Mandos with Din and Bo. We could get that some next week, but again, that's what I'm saying, that I would rather take more conversation. I would want more, hey, what have they been up to since they've been gone? A clarification how long they've been gone as well, too, because we still don't know a timeline on everything from Grogu to when they left Bo, all this stuff. How long has Mando actually had the Darksaber? So I would have liked more with them. I liked the last scene. It was cool seeing them fight. I think it was a fun little duel and stuff. So that was a positive. And I think that they did it in a clever way as far as, and this is what we talk about, this is why it's not complete filler, because they did a big thing. They got Bo the Darksaber. Again, I'm of two minds of it. One, when Din met Bo at the beginning of the season, they talked about the Darksaber, and that was it. And then it felt like it was dropped, and then now it's just kind of a point again. And I wish if Mando was gonna give it up, they let him use it a bit more this season. I think it would have been cool to see a couple more times, a couple more fight scenes where he got to use it. So now when he gives it up to Bo, it's like, well, like unless Mando's gonna get it back, but like all the posters are like him holding Grogu and then like the Darksaber, right? We saw him use it, I think, just the one time this season, I think, to fight.
He's used it a couple times. Honestly, I'm not over the moon when he whips it out. He's usually hurting himself, which I think is kind of funny. But
Well, he could have trained and got better at it. It's great to see the Darksaber in action.
yeah, I could see him getting it back because I think at this point, depending on how this battle goes, I could see Bo-Katan falling in battle and
Oh God, no!
and him getting it back. I could see it because this is.
Oh,
We saw her lose the Darksaber once. Actually, no. Let me rephrase
twice,
that.
isn't it?
She got the Darksaber once through Sabine Wren's
Yeah,
help
she just gave it to her. Yeah.
in Rebels, and we did not see the actual outcome of how she lost that. So now I think in this sense we're actually going to see how she loses it, and I do suspect that she could die in maybe the finale.
I hope not. Again, when they opened up with what was it, Bo's people. I was really hoping they were up to something shady, and again, I was really hoping that Bo was just fucking everybody over, but I don't know if that's happening again. I really wish it would, but I don't think so. I think that's a more interesting story than just them versus Moff
Well,
Gideon,
if
but I
I
think
don't know, like the whole story of Mandalorians screwing each other over. I mean, again, like it's one thing to see it in live action, totally. Like it'd be super cool to see, but that's like riddled all throughout the Clone Wars and Mandalorian, or and the Star Wars Rebels. So we've already
yeah, that's what Star
we
Wars
gotten
does,
it.
right? You get it as a star, you get a third Death Star, you get a Star Killer base, that's what they do. And plus, like, yeah, you haven't seen it in live action. So for people that only have watched Mandalorian, that's never happened before.
Yeah,
That
that's true, but then they don't have that expectation either, really. They just think, oh, they're all split up. Like, oh, yeah, let's see them all team up with this big fleet, and yeah, let's see them fight the Imperials. So the show can kind of steer the general audience in the direction they want, I would say.
Yeah, they could. I just feel like enough people have brought up the idea that, hey, what if Bo's up to something that could be a possibility? But yeah, so that's what happened. She got the dark saber. Mando said that he was, I can't remember the term and stuff like that. What is it if someone takes the knife from you? Oh my God, midnight reviews and my brain's clinking.
Well, like he explained it where he went to Mandalore and this captor captured him and defeated him in combat, and then Bo-Katan came in and beat his captor and took the dark saber. So technically, Bo-Katan wins. And I'm glad they
I know
addressed this
that.
because
I'm trying
people
to think of what's the
actually
actual word. What's the word of like taking something from someone? What's the type of like? No, in Harry Potter,
obtaining.
they disarmed, obtaining. I feel like he was more disarmed with the dark saber. But yeah, continue. He was by that machine, and then Bo beat the machine.
Yeah, that's something that people actually were talking about. I saw on Twitter, like, oh, technically, Bo-Katan would actually be wielding or get like ownership of this. And I thought, I mean, they're totally right, like, totally, totally right. And I think I was afraid to admit it because, like, I wasn't sure if the show would address it. But I think this is very cool that they turned it around and actually did use this as a way to transition that over. So I'm glad that they did it this way. It makes me happy.
Yeah, so she gets the dark saber. All the people are, again, just because one fucking sword, they're all behind her and stuff like that. So good for them. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess as far as the merging of them, as what happens in 7 and 8. See if they get bombed again. They'll be waiting on Mandalore, and they'll be the first star. They'll be the first Star Killer base test. It's not that
That
ready, but
that armor is gonna be just like she sent Bo on a mission. She's gonna fall apart. She's gonna see like 100 Mandalorians. Like, oh, this is the way. Oh, everyone keep your helmets
kill
on.
them. That's what I want to happen. But yeah, I imagine that'll be mostly next week's episode. But again, I didn't expect us to go to this planet dealing with this like this droid threat and everything like that. So again, we learned a little bit, but not too much.
I do hope again next week or in that finale, man, you get the whole Mandalorian fleet showing up, and then all of a sudden out through the nebula, you see the Chimera Thrawn Star Destroyer coming in. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I like their little setup too. All the Mandalorians had their ship parked, and I like that going on. I like the train system in this episode. I thought that was good. Some of the landscapes felt very kind of Knights of the Republic. Some of the places you would go, because I feel like you'd have in Knights of the Republic the places doing a lot better before the Empire took over, as far as just not looking good. So yeah, I liked that. But yeah, I think that's, unless there's any more talking points you got, I'm happy to talk about. But I think that's everything I have on this one, because the droid stuff, there's not much to cover. It was like a little mystery. We got a tie back to what's his name that died. I forgot. I didn't forget about him, but I forgot his name. The I've spoken guy, has a little
Quill,
Ugnaught
yeah.
yeah, Quill. So there's a tie back to that. I love that Ugnaughts just all know each other. He's just like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Quill, and they'll like just stop. And I guess it's a small world to be an Ugnaught. I guess so. No pun intended.
They're very proud proud people,
I
so
guess so.
it
Yeah.
makes sense. Um the only thing I would touch upon is the intro of this episode. I really like seeing this relationship dynamic, which again, getting Mon Calamari royalty. I'm always a big fan
Right.
of that. I think that's super super funny and
Hmm.
interesting to see because we got a whole Clone Wars arc actually about that. So yeah, seeing a relationship with the Quarren and I guess just he didn't want to go and all that stuff. Yeah,
Well,
it
they're
was
in love,
interesting.
you know.
Yeah, it was a childish fling. He's like, is that all it was? No, I do love you. Again, this. There's a level of that Star Wars prequel romance in there that I'm a sucker for. Like I hate sand, and it works on me. It totally works on me. So again, it was just cool to see. Like again, it's like the Corrin's like in her tank, she's eating the fish, and like
Mm.
she floats down, sits in her chair, and the tank goes into the floor. Very cool stuff, and the way she's talking too, like, oh, Imperial Warlord, like we're happy to pay and all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, just very very neat stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine with the like the mini romance there, them trying to stick together. That's why I thought we are gonna get something a bit more villainous with these Mandalorians because they are doing something bad, right? Like they're breaking up a love and stuff like that. I know they're all for money and they have their job, but still was doing something that us the viewers shouldn't like because there's one breaking up love and just seemed like this guy did not want to go back because I don't know if he's gonna be in danger or what the deal is, but yeah, these pesky Mandalorians. Cosca Reeve got over there quick. You know, she left and then she was there. That's a fast jetpack.
Jetpacks. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that jetpack's real fast. So, um, yeah, no, I agree with you. I liked the tank into the chair and stuff like that. I was wondering, do the rest of the crew have to do that too? Do they gotta go in tanks?
I think it's just pleasure,
Oh, it's just a pleasure
downtime.
tank.
Yeah, like a
Okay.
back to tank.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I saw that. I was like, oh, what flashback we gonna get here with our Mon Calamari friend? But yeah, unfortunately, Romeo and Juliet. Hopefully, that's when the Disney, or hopefully, that's when the three movies are announcing at Disney or Star Celebration is the Mon Calamari and this, like a full romance love movie.
I'd be down. Let's make it
Would you
happen.
be if one
I'd
of
be
the
down
three
for that.
was? If one of the three movies was just a romantic Star Wars movie between the Mon
I think
Calamari and the
that would be such a change up in what we've gotten. I think you could have so much fun with that. The political sense, especially because the tension between the Corrin and the Mancala, there's a lot going on there. And yes, they did rectify their relationship during the Clone Wars. But again, we've gone into this whole era now where Mancala just got mostly like decimated by the Empire, and the Mancala people had to send their cities into space. That's why you have the big cruisers that the rebellion
Mm.
used and all that jazz. I think you could have a whole interesting romance.
You think Solo did bad financially? Man, you put that movie out in theater, that movie fucking eats it big time. The Mon Calamari romantic movie. Yeah, no, I'll be questioning Kathleen if you pass on Feige and the Patty Jenkins movie to do this Mon Calamari romance. Disney Plus, sure. A movie? I don't know. But at this point, I guess I'll take any movie just to get it done. But yeah, no, it was fun to see that in Star Wars and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, I think that's everything for me. You got anything else?
No, I think that's it. Just yeah. See again. I guess one more note. Seeing the B1 battle droid doing all that dialogue, just talking
Mm.
like, "Hey, sir, you can't do that." I love that. But yeah, that's it.
Oh, see, when you said B1 Battle Droid, that's not what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about the big silver guys,
Yeah,
the
the
silver
B2
blue
battle
guy.
droids. Those should be B2
Oh,
battle droids.
I thought you said B1 again. Okay, I thought they had a different name, but yeah, those guys, those are my favorites. I liked getting those cards as a kid. I'd always get those toys. I just like the setup they were. It is funny now when they're in CGI, they're just like moving how I've never seen them before. Really.
Fuck, he's moving and jumping. He's throwing
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. It's just like this is not to be that guy. Like this is not my star. It's not in a negative way. It's just like, man, I just grew up when they would just walk back and forth like a penguin and put their wrist rockets up and shoot. And now here they are. These guys are fucking running. You know, credit to Mando. I give him. You know, he's not the smartest character, but he's good cardio. He kept up with that thing. He was right on that thing's tail too. You know, and
Hmm.
I actually really like that touch when Bo-Katan shot him and those like little droids came up and automatically put up like a prison tape and saw like put it was a crime scene and
Yeah.
stuff. That was a nice little touch. I liked that, and I liked that like world they're in. So there were like a few minor things I liked, but yeah, the B2's that's where it's at. I'd like that as a companion, you know. So
I like. Well, it makes sense because those are the ones that killed his parents, so he definitely hates those the
Yeah,
most.
because she had said that too. She's like, I haven't seen these since the I was gonna say the prequel, since the Clone Wars, and he said something just like, oh, I've seen them a lot like sooner than that, or a lot earlier, like later than that, and stuff like that. So again, I don't know if they're ever gonna talk about. I know Mana's not the most talkative, but still, it'd be great for him to maybe share a bit more of Bo. I know people have kind of theorized Bo has like become the main character, but that would be kind of funny in your theory if she eats it. And I don't think it's out of the realm. I'm still gonna say no because I feel like if they do this like Heir of the Empire and they do a big crossover event, they'd want her to be talking with like Sabine and Ahsoka and stuff like that. I could see in that crossover event, or if it's a big movie, whatever it may be, her dying there. But I think they'll hang on. But man, if they killed her off, that's not going to be a good day on Star Wars. start social media. I feel like people. I know you could do it in a
If
good
it's
way and
done
make me happy,
right.
but yeah, I just feel like there's still more to do with that character. You know, like I feel like especially because people really like Kitty Sackhoff. I feel like I don't know about a spin-off show, but I feel like there's at least more you could do. So I feel like if you kill her off, it hell will freeze over. So I hope that doesn't happen. I like having Bo around. I just wish they would do more with her. But I do
Mhm.
like having that character around. Again, Grogu continues to be pointless. What did he do in this episode? He did a front flip into Lizzo's arms. Like again, there's nothing this season. And like, okay, we got that flashback of Order 66, which they could have done at any point in a different show. There's nothing this season that you can convince me that Grogu needs to be here. You could literally, I promise you, I could edit Grogu out of this season, like do an After Effects, Final Cut. You wouldn't even notice. If I took out all the scenes, you wouldn't even notice. That's how little of an impact this character's having, and didn't even matter they brought him back because the ratings are down. So I don't know why we did it, but it's just like he's just there to coo a lot. He coos a lot, and that's about it.
Yeah. No, he's
Like, would
looking
you
good in this episode.
but even you that loves the show, wouldn't you admit that like they're not like Grogu's not, he's just there, like he's just around. There's nothing pressing with that
He
character.
is right now, but I'm retroactively waiting for them to kind of detail about what's going on because the cloning thing, they got to cover a little bit more about the cloning thing, what they
Mm-hmm.
did with Dr. Pershing. And again, Grogu being with Luke for 2 years, that could have been long enough that the Empire
Or a
had to kind
year,
of
we don't
change
know.
yeah, at least 365 days. So we know that the Empire could have probably turned their sights away from that. And Gideon,
Mm.
obviously, the last thing Gideon saw and was aware of was that Luke Skywalker, the man who walked into a room with Darth Vader and the Emperor, was the only man to walk out, took Grogu away. This Imperial, like I wouldn't say legend, but this Imperial fear that's surrounding Luke Skywalker.
The legend.
So he probably gave up his hunt, but
Yeah, I agree.
there's still other things that are going on. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
My worry, my absolute fear, and bookmark this because I bet this is gonna happen because I feel like I've gone right this season. My absolute fear is this season ends with them kidnapping Grogu, and season 4 is about getting Grogu back. I could really see that being the plot of Moff getting away with Grogu, and
Depends how tied in these are. Like if Thrawn appears, I don't
mhm.
see that happening because then we'd have Ahsoka and the Ezra story and all that kind of jazz. If Thrawn doesn't appear, it's just Gideon. Then yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
but you
it.
could easily tell the Ahsoka story. You could easily, for some reason, that could happen before Mando 3, right? Or they're happening concurrently. And then when you
That's
finish
true.
the season, it happens at the same time. Or maybe Moff is just on his own and he's going to meet up with Thrawn at some point, and that doesn't happen yet, right? So I think there is other ways you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if it is Thrawn, we got Ahsoka coming up. I do think they will do that Heir of the Empire. I just don't know with, I know people have theorized they do a movie. I don't think, because I think at one point there was like rumors that they're kicking around like a Mando movie, but I think Favreau pretty recently said like they're not doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would do like a Defenders like crossover thing, or if they just do like Mando season 4. It's just Heir of the Empire where they bring in Ahsoka and everybody. So I don't know, but that's my prediction. That's my worry, is that they're gonna have Moff take them, and that's gonna tie back to the cloning. And I hope not, but hey, we got 2 episodes. We'll see what happens. I am hopefully passionate. They should be some juicy ones. I don't know who's directing what. I don't know. Has Filoni directed this season yet? I feel like he's got to be directing one if he hasn't yet.
I had the list here. He has directed one, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Uh,
Because I know, was that the one with Ahmed Best is the one he directed? I know he wrote that one. I know him and Favreau wrote, like they write a lot, but I mean, like, they specifically wrote the script for that one.
let's see here. 17, directed by Rick Famuyiwa.
Famu, yeah.
The Mines of Mandalore was Rachel Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 19, The Convert, was Lee Isaac Chung. Chapter
Mm-hmm.
20, The Foundling, with
That was Weathers, actually,
that
right?
was Weathers,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And then The Pirate was Peter Ramsey.
Right.
And then this one, Bryce Dallas Howard. And the last two are Rick Famuyiwa.
Famayua.
So Famuyiwa. So he did, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh, the
first
last two
episode.
are from
He's
you.
doing the
Oh,
last two,
wow,
yeah.
okay.
And so the last two, well, oh, interesting. Yeah, Favreau did. He's worked on writing every episode and paired up with other people, but Dave Filoni's only written the Foundling episode, and then Dave Filoni's written with John the next episode we're getting. But other than that, it's mostly just been John writing these with other people.
Okay, so for the next episode, we're gonna have some Filoniisms. I feel like that could tackle a bit more Grogu and some like prequel stuff, or even Thrawn stuff, right? Because I feel like they kind of bring him in for the
Yeah.
canon lore stuff. So that would make sense, even if it's not Thrawn being there, just more connections. So that's surprising, but I wonder if he's gonna be directing Ahsoka episodes, if that's why he didn't direct
I
here.
think so. That's his baby, that character.
Yeah.
So
I'll be surprised if not they benched him for directing. I don't know what he did, but yeah. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We've reviewed episode 6. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll get Kirkland's thoughts on this because I'd love to see Kirkland's reaction on this stuff. I feel like he'd be in the middle because I feel like he's been back and forth this whole season. I feel like every review he's like, "Oh, I'm with Travis," and then the next week he's like, "I'm with Taylor now." I feel like every week he's changed his mind, and that's not a bad thing because you can have that. But with this one, it'll be interesting. So yeah, let us know what you thought about it. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or maybe jump in the Discord. I'm excited to see people continuously wake up in the Discord and just see our interaction and go down. And again, as usual, if you liked it, great. That's the good thing about Star Wars. I'm disappointed because I've liked the first 2 seasons of Mando, especially season 2. But that's a good thing with Star Wars. There is other things. There's not movies, not new movies, but like there is Andor, and there will be Ahsoka, and there will be Acolyte. And I was lucky. I loved Andor. So you know what? If this was not for me, that's fine. And it's just
we'll see after this weekend. We'll see about those movies.
Even if they announce them, I'm not believing shit. I'm not believing until they're even on set. Look at what happened with Soul. I will not believe that till I get a trailer and we have a date and it's like literally I'm in the theater maybe and stuff like that, you know? So, yeah, we'll see. And that's the thing. Luckily, Andor season 2 is coming. I don't expect any big time. See, there's another one. I know someone's gonna be like Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis as a face doesn't take me out of Star Wars. He's not that uber star level. And that's even Christopher Lloyd. Jack Black, at least I know the Andor season 2 that comes up. Jack Black's not going to be in that watch. They'll go back to that planet, and there's a huge plot point of fucking, you know. So just if you get Jack Black, just give Cassian, what's his name, Jabba. You know, just give him Jabba. That's what we all want. The people, yeah. Come on, Jabba. Look at him. The taste of him, the smell. Oh, the texture. I wanted the texture. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching or listening. I promise it will not be boring when you hear from us next week. May the force be with you.
Oh, wait.